right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode here on the Fit Father Project podcast. This is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, and today I have the true privilege to be joined by one of our amazing program members, Joe Gillick, who joined us for our Transformation Challenge in January of 2021. After years of struggling with his health, trying all sorts of diets and programs that just didn't work for him long term, he found the Fit Father Project on the internet. He gave us a shot, and he's lost 55 pounds and transformed his life. And this is here. Joe, we're so happy to have you here to share your story, all the things you went through, everything you learned. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you, Dr. Balduzzi. I'm excited to be here. This has been just a tremendous transformation for me, and I'm really excited to share my story and hopefully help others.
Yeah, I know it will. I know it's an amazing story because it's a story, as I've, seen you go through your progress in Alpha chapter, as well as, to see the photos and everything you've written in. It's a story that I think a lot of guys are going to relate to because you're kind of like the everyman. You're a family guy. You have a busy job. You have kids, and, the weight kind of crept on. So let's get into that. But before we do, I'd love you to introduce yourself, officially, your name, your age, where you're from, what you do from work, and then we'll get into how you found the program and kind of where you were at in your life at that point.
Certainly. So my name is Joe Gillick. I'm 52 years old. I'll be 53 in October. I'm a husband, a father. I've married my high school sweetheart. We've been married for 28 years. I've got a 27-year-old daughter and a 22-year-old son. I live in Shelton, Connecticut, which is about an hour or so from New York City. Been here my whole life. And I work as a finance director for an aerospace company. So pretty, demanding job.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yep.
So where did you find yourself before joining the program? Like, where were you at? Where was your health at that point?
Well, I think we talked about earlier, my story I find is remarkably unremarkable, right? I think it's the everyday story, right? We all start off, I know as a guy, I was very active as a kid, even into my high school years. I was a sprinter. I played baseball. And then this thing called life happened, right? And that's getting married, having kids, getting a job, having a house. And, your priorities change, right? And I think as all good parents and fathers, we try to do is we give of ourselves to where we need to be, which is our families and the household. And what happens is you tend to forget about yourself a little bit. And that's kind of what happened to me. There was no traumatic event that happened. It was just life happening, and the pounds slowly crept on. My activity went from physical fitness to just running around, get my kids places, which isn't quite the same. My diet became one of convenience, not of nutrition. And, I rallied at points in time. There were times where, I'd find a fad diet where I could lose 20 pounds, or found a piece of exercise equipment or a videotape that, I worked for a little bit, but nothing was sustainable. Recently it just seemed like, life became even harder. Stresses kind of hit, and I found myself gaining just a tremendous amount of weight right before the pandemic, especially, and really was like the low point of my journey.
And what did your weight top out at that point? Kind of like during the pandemic, and how tall are you for reference for the guys listening?
Sure. Yeah, I'm 5'10", 5'11" on a good day. When I started the program, I was 255, but I think I was probably closer to 260 when I really felt bad. I mean, I always show, this is the picture I think I showed you at one point, if it comes across well. This was pre-pandemic. Oh, yeah. I was at the last luncheon I did with my staff, and that was kind of an eye-opener. I just really just out of shape, kind of disgusting, disgusted with myself with that.
So what were you doing at that point? How'd you find the Fit Father Project? Were you searching for things? Did we find you from some kind of online ad, or like how'd you end up stumbling in? How do we cross paths?
Well, part of it was, the low point besides the weight for me was I was experiencing tremendous heartburn before every meal, during meals, after meals. I couldn't sleep. I was taking, the Pepcid AC, and I was popping Tums like chiclets, and even that didn't always work. And then sometimes at night, my go-to was goldfish crackers and ginger ale, something to calm my stomach while I was either on the internet or watching TV. And it was during one of those times where I was on the internet and I happened to see one of your videos. And I think I mentioned in my application that, I heard you say, "Welcome, my friend." And that particular night, it just resonated. It wasn't one of these rah-rah, get going, you got to work out kind of thing. It just was a very calm approach. It caught my interest. I was leery, like a lot of things, because I had done so many other types of, of diets and videotapes. And so I did my research, and what I liked about what I was seeing was and you use this word in a recent podcast, you're talking about nutrition. It's a system. And that's what I was looking for. There's so much information out there. There are so many exercise programs, so many gimmicks, so many diets, and they're not all bad. There's just a plethora of them, and it's overwhelming. And what happens is, for me, I would just like shut down. I was like, I don't even know where to start. I'm not going to bother. I think I'll go to McDonald's, right? And that's kind of what I would do. I made excuses, and this program answered all the questions I had. It took care of the excuses. It didn't really allow for the excuses. It had the answers of things that in the past would derail me or, prevent me from continuing.
So it was like a holistic approach, answered a lot of your questions. And I'm just kind of struck by this visual of seeing you on the couch, heartburn, ginger ale, popping, the goldfish, and this ad finds you at the right time. I think that life works in mysterious ways, and I'm really glad that it happened on that particular night that you found our videos and you started watching, because you joined the program, and I know you lost 55 pounds in, how long was the time frame of you losing that? 5-6 months?
Yeah, I started in October. So, and, really good. I actually, it's most closer to like beginning of November. So yeah, roughly, it's been about 6 months or so. And it was the right way of doing it because I had at one point had lost a lot of weight many years ago, and it was a fad diet. And while yes, it was probably good for me to do so, I didn't feel good. I didn't look good. I lost a lot of weight really quick. And I may have been healthier, but I didn't feel healthy. I didn't look healthy. With this program, because there's both a nutrition and an exercise component, I feel like I've done it the right way. It's been a measured, methodical approach, and sustainable.
So I want to talk about your routine on that very topic. It's like you've certainly tried lots of methods in the past. And I know guys who are listening to you right now and kind of resonating with your story have also tried lots of different things. What are you doing differently now with your nutrition in particular that might have been different from, like, let's just say, a fad restrictive diet in the past? Like, what's changed and what does your routine look like today that you've implemented with your nutrition system, for example? Because I know that was a big factor of you losing the weight.
Yeah, well, the big thing here is, right, there is no magic pill. There are no gimmicks. It's hard work. We didn't get in this position overnight. It took many, many years of poor habits to get here. It's not going to change overnight. And anyone who thinks it will is, there's fooling themselves. And I used to fool myself as well. So what I needed was a little bit of structure. I needed a little bit of planning. You talked about in one of your recent podcasts about meal planning. It's huge. I do many of the things that you recommended. I grill my chicken every Sunday, and I eat chicken and salad most of the week. It makes it easier. It takes away the excuse of, I don't have time to prepare this. I love the shakes. I never thought I would. That was one of my excuses. Oh, I'm not going to sit there and blend stuff. My daughter took care of that for me. For Christmas, an early Christmas gift, she got me a Ninja Foodie. She goes, "Here you go, Dad. No excuse." So, good to have the support of the family. And so I make shakes, and I love them. I have the same one almost every morning, and I haven't gotten tired of it. I put all kinds of fruits in. I use the super fuel and, a little bit of cinnamon and bananas and what have you. And I enjoy it. I know I'm getting the nutrition, but it's the planning. It's having a plan, knowing ahead of time, instead of waking up in the morning saying, oh, geez, I better go stop at the local breakfast shop and get a sandwich or a donut. This is all planned ahead of time. And it's flexible. I don't have to have certain things. That's what's great about this program. You're not telling me eat this or count this kind of calorie. It's just reasonable. It's stuff we know, but it's put in a system that allows it to make it easy to follow.
Yeah, that's well said. For those that haven't joined or experienced the program yet, I think that is really the aim, right? Is it's the common sense stuff that a lot of us know we should do, but when it's put into a system, it's something you can follow. And I think early on in your journeys, the structure is huge. It gives you something to hang on to, that you start to build up your results, and then you get this intrinsic motivation, then you keep on going. So what was it for you in the beginning? One of the things we do in the program, as you know, is we have you examine your deep why and kind of come up with a mission statement and some of these reasons why this is the time committing to this program is good. What were those initial reasons for you starting the program? And in addition to the structure, how did those reasons kind of compel you to stick through this and start to see the results?
For me, what I had to do is I had to come up with an analogy that worked for me. And the problem I realized I had going into the program was I was kind of wayward. I didn't have a plan. It was just very confusing. So I started using an analogy for me of a road trip. And this road trip for me, it has various points along the way. It may be smooth sailing for many miles. I also know I'm going to encounter roadblocks. I'm going to have, there's going to be those detours and those accidents. I may find a destination that I want to stay at for a little while, but I needed to have this sort of this overall plan for my life that says, this is I've put myself, as a good father, as a good parent, I've always put the needs of my family, my friends, my coworkers ahead of me, right? And I needed to kind of reprioritize things because I realized, although I thought I was being selfless by doing that, I'm actually hurting not only myself but those people because I'm not the best version of myself. And because of that, I'm actually hurting the ability to be the best person for everyone. So I had to kind of prioritize things in a way that said, this is a journey, this is a road trip. And I use that methodology. And in fact, I talk about it on Facebook all the time with my Alpha team, but just because I think it helps ground because there's so many ways, there's so many excuses that can happen. And if you just realize that that's just part of the journey, that this is not necessarily always going to be smooth sailing or easy, but we've got a support group in place. There's a system in place that kind of allows us to continue, doing the right things and not beating yourself up when things don't go the right way. You can get right back on it.
That is such a powerful analogy for so many subtle reasons. You've framed this journey. You know that there's going to be road bumps. And in the past, I imagine what happens for a lot of guys is they get freaked out the second there's a little bit of friction or a meal doesn't go wrong. There's this all or nothing mentality where something bad happens and you're off the plan because you blew it. But with this bigger container that's like, I'm on this mission. This is a road trip. There's going to be all sorts of different terrain, but I know generally where I'm going. It makes so much sense how it makes you a lot more resilient. I think that's very powerful. So guys listening, like, you road trip your way. I mean, there's zigs and zags, but the structure gives you the general map and then you just follow it. And you mentioned support from your Alpha team. For those guys listening that don't know this, tell them a little bit more about your brothers in Fit Father Alpha chapter and inside the program and how that's been a factor for you. Cause I know, as you know, this is not just a diet or a workout. There's a community of guys who are also taking their own road trips side by side with you. So share a little bit about that, because I know that you've helped so many guys in the group, and I'm sure they've helped you as well.
Probably one of the most underrated portions of the system. Going into it, I said Facebook, because we all know Facebook, depending what you think about it, it's kind of gone, and it can be a negative experience. And I figured this is not going to be something I'm going to focus my time on. I'm just going to focus on the actual nutrition and exercise. But I found the Facebook group is as powerful a tool as any. It's such a great group. It's a private group. It's all about support. And you realize that whatever you're going through, someone's either going through it right now or has gone through it. Anytime you've got a question or an issue, or you feel like you're stuck in a rut or you're plateauing, someone on the site will say, "Hey, I've been there. Hang in there." We've got Ben Sterling, your head trainer and nutritionist, who's always saying, "Hey, don't worry about this. This is normal." We have a weekly Q&A with him. He's got all the, he answers questions for everybody. It takes away all the excuses. Every time, you'd have that self-doubt. I'm sore today. I don't feel like working out, or what can I do? I'm going to have this big, tough weekend. How am I going to handle that? There's answers out there. Everything's covered, and you realize that everyone's going through the same exact thing, and we rally around each other. And I know they've been very supportive of me. I've been supportive of my fellow brothers. Some of us are actually, Facebook friends outside of the group. We've kind of, so it's a really nice feature that I never thought going in would be as good as it has been.
That makes me so happy to hear. And I think it is just like this magic secret sauce where when we're looking to make big changes in our lives, we don't have to do it alone. And we can humanize this journey and kind of get out of our own heads and see the other guys going through. And it's both receiving and giving. Like, the giving part is huge too, because as you start to see success and you're able to share that and that inspires other people, like, you almost get more than you even give. But it's an amazing thing where everything it's support and it's love and this shared human experience. And I think that's incredibly powerful. So what was your experience like starting exercise? I mean, you hadn't worked out consistently for many years. I mean, you tried some stuff, 255, I'm sure starting exercise was also kind of like a daunting task. You had to fit it into your schedule. You're doing new kinds of routines and your body's adapting and you got a lot more fit, but I'm sure there was challenges off the bat. What was it like getting started on exercise for you, and what did you learn on that front?
Well, it was certainly tough, right? One of the phrases I've coined to the group and they've kind of adopted as their rallying cry is, keep grinding, right? So it's a grind. I mean, it's hard work. There's no way around it. But there's such a benefit from it. I mean, it was a slow approach. I didn't want to overdo it because I've done that in the past where, you go gangbusters and you tweak a muscle or you pull a muscle or you get sore and then you get, kind of discouraged and you give up on it. So it would no, I followed the program. I mean, you have it spelled out so it's very comprehensive, and they're reasonable exercises, and there's no pressure. It's not like you're watching a videotape and people on the other side of the tape who are in shape are going crazy, and you're trying to keep up with them. This is on your own, so you do what you can. If there's some of your, a lot of the exercises are pyramid type workouts where you go up to 10 and down. If you don't finish, you don't finish. Just do the best you can, and I found it, and again, the Facebook group was very good and supportive of saying, yeah, here's how far I've done it, or here's what I did, or I couldn't do, and it just started off slowly, and I made reasonable goals for myself. I know we have a mission statement we talk about, and most of us put in 15 pounds in the first 30 days, and but for me, again, I was 255, so my first goal was get out of the 250s. Just take your time, whatever, right? And I had to have small, measurable goals because I knew I wanted to get where I am. And by the way, I'm not done. I still have more to go. But I knew if I had focused on, I got to lose all this weight because I see all these other guys who've done that and I want to be there. I wasn't there yet. So as part of my system, as part of my journey, I made sure that what I did was reasonable. Some of the workouts are reasonable, the food was reasonable, and the program allows for that, and it makes it easy to do so. So, good experience. Didn't find it difficult to do. I found the workouts difficult, but they were manageable, and the results are here.
One thing I think guys don't realize is how quickly your fitness can improve, even if you're in your 50s and your 60s. Like you start these workouts, they're butt kickers, but a month later, you're substantially more fit. How has your fitness changed with these workouts? I know, full disclosure, I do know that you've been decreasing medications on many different fronts. So obviously your heart is getting a lot healthier along the process. So what has the fitness level changed? Were there ever any moments where you did a workout and you were like, wow, this probably would have killed me, a couple months ago, and now I can't even believe I'm able to do what I can?
All the time. I just did an Apex 10 yesterday, and I've always struggled to finish pyramids. Usually because I was maybe a little too aggressive with the weights I used. But I just said, you know what? Before I have my little podcast, I'm going to try an Apex 10 and see how I do. And I nailed it, and it felt great. One of the things I also do outside of the workouts is I'm big into walking. I know you recommend it as well, and I've got a huge like a 5 mile neighborhood walk I do. And there's this one hill, it's huge. And I used to it would gas me out every time. Like I'd have to stop at the top and catch my breath. I cruise through it now. I mean, I don't break a sweat. I mean, I'm starting to jog part of my walk now because I need to challenge myself a little bit. So, everything is just tighter. I talked about the joke about me, one time taking off my shirt in the bedroom and across the room in the mirror, I looked and I didn't recognize who I saw in the mirror. I saw something on my back. What is that? It was my muscles. Like I had tone that I never had before. So I'm sitting there and I'm shadow boxing because I felt like I looked like a boxer, and thank God nobody was home to see it. But, I've got muscles I never had before. I've got tone. My body's changed. It's kind of, what you call the non-scale victories that don't necessarily show up on the scale, but the clothes just start fitting better. You can do more things. You're not out of breath. You talked about some of my medicines. I mean, my blood pressure medication's been cut in half and may get cut in half again in July. I'll find out in a couple weeks. I don't have any heartburn anymore. Gone. I was taking 2 different kinds of breathing medications. I literally used one of my rescue inhalers once in the last 6 months. So I've just gone cold turkey. I don't need it. And it's because of this program. There's no question, because I would take those things, I'd be out of breath, and I thought it was because of my asthma, and it wasn't. It was because I was out of shape. The heartburn was because I was out of shape, not because I was eating, not because of the kind of food I had. It was because I was eating too much food. So just by changing my lifestyle, by eating better, by exercising, I'm almost medicine free now. I don't, and it's great. I mean, there's this, you had recommended a particular, a couple of different body weight kind of scales with different kind of measurements. And I bought it. And when I first went on it, it said my real age or my true age was 62. Now, again, I'm 52. I just went on it this morning and it says I'm 47. So whatever those metrics are, whether you believe them or not, I've literally turned back time, based upon my body weight and my
I
muscle
mean,
tone and the bone
you look
density.
at two. The
Yeah,
guys, listen, for people listening right now, I mean, they don't get a chance to see you, but you are just full of life and energy. And that's partially the reason I'm getting emotional listening to your story of like you getting off these medications. You just look like a brand new man. Like you're just so full of life and you made this happen. And I'm just so proud of you.
I
It's
appreciate that. No, I
incredible.
mean, you're a lifesaver. I mean, seriously, I wasn't, I mean, we're kind of at an age now where, we've got friends who, sometimes, have some serious health issues and I didn't want to get there, and I felt myself getting awfully close. And thankfully I found this program when I did. And, I was the right time, as you pointed out, and I've been able to commit to it. And, this is me now, right? This is the biggest I think the biggest benefit of a program like this is it's what it does to your brain. Never mind any other organ, right? You've got to retrain the brain because it's all about poor habits. And that's what I had. And I had poor habits and I made all kinds of excuses. And what this program has allowed me to do is to retrain my brain to focus on me. And by being a better version of myself, I'm better for everyone involved.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And actually, that was my exact next question is I'm very curious, Joe, how this has changed your family. You have a wife, two beautiful kids, and how's it changed your family life as you've gotten healthier or your relationships with your family?
I did. They just noticed a difference in my personality, right? So I'm a better person. I am more lively now. I've always been, a character, as my kids will tell you. But I can do more. I'm not always tired. I'm not crashing on the couch. And I think I'm inspiring them. I mean, they've always been better eaters than me. But they've embraced this along with me. They've been so supportive of my journey. Sometimes I know that can always be difficult because I didn't want my journey to adversely affect them. I didn't want them to have to make any sacrifices that they didn't want to make. But they've just, rallied around me, very supportive. And my coworkers notice it. I've got a team of people that work with for me, and they've noticed the change. I feel like I'm more alert at work. I think, it's amazing the chemistry changes that occur when you just eat better, and you're active. It happens so slowly over the years, you don't realize what happened. But then when you turn it back, and you realize, wow, what a remarkable change.
It becomes your new normal, and it's absolutely incredible. What's next for you, Joe? I mean, you're 55 down, and I know you have more to go, and you're using this FitFollow 30X system. What's your next stop on this great road journey?
Well, that's the great thing about having a journey, and that, is that I don't have a specific one. So I can tell you short term, I'm hovering right around 200 pounds. I want to get under that. That's a big milestone for me. And then I'm going to evaluate again. Do I want to get under 190? Possibly. Maybe I want to do a Tough Mudder or a 5K. Um, I'm at a point now where I can start thinking about that, where I couldn't have done that 6 months ago. Part of having, I guess what's really important to me is I can't become complacent. I'm so scared of, being satisfied and then taking the foot off the gas and going the other way. And I don't think that's going to happen because this has really been a sustained change, but I always want to make sure there's something out there for me to challenge. So I know at some point I'm going to want to go old school muscle. Once I, get to the point where I've lost the weight, I think I want to lose another 10 pounds or so, maybe. But maybe more. Maybe I'll get there and say, maybe I want to do more. Or I may decide I'm going to bulk up a little bit and focus on getting some more muscle definition so I can become a real boxer. Um, the great thing about this program, again, it's the flexibility. It's the organized flexibility. I have a system now so that I can evaluate where I am and what I want to do with that. And with the Facebook support group and with you, and Ben and, all the great people with FFP, there's the sky's the limit as far as what I can and can't do. I don't make excuses for what I can't do. I look to see what I can now.
Yeah, I fully believe that. And it's incredible to hear just we're talking about like brain change and brain chemistry and thinking that you're a man of possibilities now. I mean, this whole horizon of things just opened up to your world on this back half of your life now that weren't an option. So you're aging back chronologically, says the scale, or biologically, I should say. And you also have all these new possibilities. And I think what you said about knowing if you're the type of guy that is very, goal driven, is to keep on setting those goals, the small goals, in the future. It propels you forward and it creates a great container for that next stop on the journey. So Joe, I have a question. If you could go back and give yourself some advice, maybe when you're at a point before you even found the Fit Father Project, where, guys are in the busyness of their lives, they have a sense internally that they want to do better, but haven't had anything that's really shocking or jarring to get them off. Like, there's no heart attack. There's just life. There's just the daily heartburn. There's just the work and the McDonald's trips and a sense that they want to do better. What would you say to that man, or even yourself back at that time? What piece of advice would you give him?
It's okay to be selfish. Being selfish is actually being selfless, right? But by taking care of yourself, you're allowing yourself to take care of others even better than before. So you got to take that step. You got to move in the right direction. Any movement is positive movement. It's become evident right now in my journey, and I wish I'd started a lot sooner.
Well, you got a lot of life left in you, Joe, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. And I am excited to see you on Old School Muscle, because you already have a great frame, and I've seen some biceps on you. So let alone when you start focusing on muscle building, man, you're going to be an absolute tank. Everyone on your team's going to be scared. You're such a nice guy. But Joe, thanks for being on here and sharing your story. Is there anything like you'd like to conclude with? Because I think we've covered so much, but I want to give you the floor one more time to share any other tidbits, whether it's thanks to our team. I want to give a big shout out to, Ben Sterling, Catherine, Craig, Stuart, because, I'm the fortunate guy that gets to be here and talk to you, Joe. And it fills my heart up like I'm overflowing. But I know my team too, honestly, they deserve to be on this conversation too. So I just want to, maybe I'll give them the props, but anything else you'd like to end with, and we'll wrap this up.
Sure. I mean, obviously they've all been tremendous. I mean, it's such a great team you've assembled, and they're just all supportive. I have nothing but positive things to say about the program. If I were to wrap things up, one thing I would focus on if I were someone who's struggling or not sure what they want to do, don't look at me now. Look at this, because this is where I was, right? Don't be discouraged by seeing someone. I used to get discouraged sometimes doing some of those fitness tapes because I saw the people on the screen, and even though they said, "Hey, use the modifier," it was very defeating because I was nowhere near there. I just wasn't at that place yet. So I was where many of you are right now. You just got to take that first step. Short, modest goals, a couple pounds here or there, build momentum, retrain the brain. It works. It takes some time, but it works. And once you're there, it's addictive. I mean, I enjoy working out. I enjoy the nutrition. I like being in control. And it's the first time in a long time I feel like I'm in control.
Congratulations, Joe. I mean, you made this happen. It's been a true privilege to be able to work with you in your life to make these changes. And I know so many people in your family, in your team, in Alpha Chapter are better for it, for you, as quote unquote being selfish. You've been so selfless in the process. It's a huge lesson I take from this. And thank you for sharing your wisdom today, Joe.
Thank you, Dr. Balduzzi. Appreciate it. Keep grinding.
Keep grinding, everyone. You heard it from Joe. Thanks for everyone for this episode. Stay tuned. We have more great conversations, guys like Joe, and I'll also be on here in future episodes, talking about some of the systems and what we put in place with Fit Father Project to help guys like Joe succeed. Thanks for being here. We'll catch you in next episodes.